Hello everyone, this is Jim Delapine, and I'd like to do some tutorials for you using Photoshop CS6. I'd like to show you how to create this interesting displace edge technique. So this frame was created using the displace filter. I also will use the content aware feature briefly, and we're also going to access some textured images to create this actual framework here. I'm actually going to use some bark imagery. So the first thing we want to do is, let me just show you how this was essentially created. Let me bring up my palettes here. So I've got the layer mask I'm working with and several other layers. I use the hue saturation layer and so on. So let's just start from scratch. So let me just select these layers here and we'll delete them and begin fresh. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is access the layers palette, and we're going to be working with creating that interesting frame that I just showed you using a variety of textures. So these are textures that I simply downloaded from bitbox.com. Okay, and we'll also work with a variety of other interesting features. So I'm going to keep this simple, and it is in fact quite simple. All right, so we're going to start with this photograph of the girl. And keep in mind that we want to make sure that we are willing to lose anything around the edge here, because we're going to use the inside of the document here as a frame. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, this originally was a flattened layer, so a flattened image. So the first thing we're going to do is double click on the background layer to unlock it. All right, I'll just hit layers, I'll just hit OK. And I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to fill that with white and place that below the subject layer. All right, the next step is this. We're going to create a rectangular marquee that's going to be well inside the image here. And we're going to use this as the basic framework. All right, so our frame for this image will be coming inward and outward from this current visible selection. Okay, so looking at the layers palette again, what we need to do first is create a layer mask based on this selection. So I'm going to simply go down here and click on the layer mask icon, and we now have an instant layer mask. All right, the next step is, with the layer mask icon selected on the subject layer, we're going to go to Filter, Distort, Displace. All right, so you get the displacement options window come up, and you can see here that you have a horizontal scale and vertical scale, and these numbers here will indicate how far inward and outward you want your framework to extend. So the higher the number, the more texture you'll be seeing within the frame here. All right, so you're going to make sure that the stretch to fit radio button is depressed in the displacement map area, and repeat edge pixels is also selected. All right, so with that, you're going to hit OK, and then you're going to select the document or the file that you're going to be bringing in. Now keep in mind that this technique will only work for Photoshop documents. So you can see here I have a number of documents here, and we're going to select one of the images that I just showed you of the tree bark. So I'll select tree bark 1 and hit OK, and there you go. We have instant results, and the results you see here are based on the contrast that the displacement filter is picking up in this texture here. Okay, so with that in mind, you can actually use any image to bring in here, and it will create a frame based on what Photoshop sees within that image. Okay, so if you look here now, you'll see that all of a sudden there's a hard edge here. Okay, based on the image that is picking up, let me just reduce this in size so it's kind of comparable. It's picking up this black area here. So let's do this. Let's trick Photoshop, and we'll get rid of this edge. And let me just undo that last application. I'll go back to the tree bark 1, and I'll go to my rectangular marquee tool, and I'll draw a selection around this area here. And then I'm going to basically fill in this area using the Content Aware feature. So Shift F5, Content Aware is the default that comes up. You have many other options here, but Content Aware is exactly what we'd like. And once I hit OK, Photoshop does its thing and fills this in based on the surrounding pixels. All right, so I'll deselect and I'm going to save this as, I will call this Tree Bark 2. Okay, and we'll hit OK. And once again, I'm saving this as a Photoshop document. So now the next step is to go back to our photo here and go to Filter, Distort, Displace. We'll accept the same settings that I had before, and I'll hit OK. And now it's going to ask us for that document that we want to apply the displacement filter to. And we're going to select Tree Bark 2, and I'll hit OK. And there you go. Okay, so it's reacting to the existing contrasting pixels in that area. Okay, another interesting feature, and just to explain this a little further with regards to the displacement filter, let me undo this. What I'm going to do now is actually bring in this girl. All right, if that image over here was blurred, you would get a totally different effect, and that effect would be a lot smoother than the textured edges that we just saw. Okay, so that being said, let's look at this photo. All right, let me just disable this. So this photo has pretty high contrast hard edge images all around this area here. Yet on the left side, you've got a blurred out area. So this is the perfect image to describe this technique to you with. All right, so we're actually going to bring in this image and displace this as the frame. Okay, so that being said, let me enable the layer mask again. All right, and I'm going to apply the displacement filter. This time I'm going to bring in that image of the girl itself. All right, so I'm going to select this and hit open. There you go. Okay, so now that displacement filter is reacting to the contrasting edges on the right side, and all of a sudden it's smoothing out on the left because it's reacting to the blurriness of that image. So I thought this was a good image to explain this process to you. All right, so that should explain this pretty well. It's relatively simple. Keep in mind that there's other options open to you. For example, you can change this background color to another color. All right, I just filled that background with this texture here, with this color here. In addition to that, let me undo that, and I'm going to duplicate this layer here. All right, I'm going to simply duplicate it by dragging it down to the new layer icon, and then I'm going to remove this layer mask. I'm going to delete the layer mask and now bring this image down to the bottom. Okay, now what that means is this layer mask is masking out or protecting the black area within the mask. All right, it's allowing us to see through where it's white here, so it's masking out this area in black. If we lower the opacity on the layer 1 that is filled with white, it will allow us to see through. So you'll get another different look. In addition to that, we could make this appear as if this background out here goes to black and white by simply applying an adjustment layer to the base layer. I'll give it a hue saturation. And by removing the saturation, we're removing the color from that base image. Okay, so what you essentially have is a image that's black underneath. So what we essentially have is an image that's grayscale underneath. So you have this option open to you also. The options are up to you. You have many choices, and I hope you got some value from this. Take care, everyone.